Hey, you're listening to the Intentional Mind podcast, and we're in episode 24. I'm Angela Barnard. I'm your host, and this show is all about helping you intentionally design your life using the power of your mind, faith, and energy. All of that in combination is what's needed to design a life that you're excited about, that you're really proud of. And this episode is really targeted towards those who feel like they were meant for more than how they're currently living their life. Maybe how they're currently doing their work. Like they feel that tug, like, I know I'm meant for more than this. Like I kind of feel like I'm just going through the motions. I'm not really excited about what it is that I'm doing. Yeah, you feel that tug. You know what I'm talking about? If you know someone who needs that clarity around what it is that they actually want to do, like how they want to design their life, then this is the episode for them. I'm going to share the 5-step process that I used to take people through when they would show up to me when I was a career coach, and I still do some of that coaching, but when they would show up to me and be like, yeah, I'm just like, I can't keep doing this work. Like, I don't know what I'd rather do, but I still need money to come in. I can't see myself in this job long term because I just know I'm meant for more. Help me. So this is what I do. I take them through this process. So I'm just going to kind of spark notes it for you. All right, so let's get on with the show. All right, guys, so we just got back from Ecuador. My husband and my in-laws, we took a trip for 10 days around Ecuador, and it was amazing. Let me tell you why it was amazing. Man, we went to the jungle. We had taken a boat out to this remote area of the jungle. We went up and hiked the highest elevation I've ever been to, which is 16,500 feet up this huge volcano that was all ice and snow at the top. You start to feel a little dizzy with the altitude. So we're going from like jungle, hot, humid, feeding these little alligator things to like high up in the mountains, feeling dizzy, like just different terrain. And we went through throughout the country, kind of like an equivalent of going through 5 different states, if you think about it in provinces like Ecuador is designed. But it was really awesome. But it was cool because it was my I was about to say my brother's birthday, but no, it was my husband's birthday. And it was just really fun. But it got me thinking like how we are getting so much older, all of us, right? And I'm like, man, I just remember like 7 years ago sitting under this tree, well, laying under this tree and looking up next to my husband and thinking like how much of our life we had ahead of us, and like just thinking it's like, wow, we're in our mid 20s. And then now it's like, whoa, it's like I blinked and all that time flew by and here I am, in my 30s. And anyways, I'm just like, I guess it makes me more passionate about wanting to share with people about like just how important it is that in this short chunk of time that we have here on earth, that we are using the gifts that God gave us, that we are doing work, spending most of our days, because a lot of us spend a lot of our time at work, that we are doing stuff that lights us up, that really honors those gifts, that uses them, that taps into them. So one of the most popular episodes so far has been the episode that I did with Kristen Clark, the strengths coach, and that's episode 20. And I think it really just kind of spoke to people because a lot of us are thinking, yeah, I want to use my strengths. And you can see how using your strengths is tied to you being happy and enjoying your life. And a lot of us feel unfulfilled because we're not using the strengths that God gave us. That's my belief, because a lot of us are in roles that really don't honor them. And the solution isn't always to switch the job. So I want that to be clear. It's not always that, but sometimes it is that. But I am saying like the goal is for you to really tap into your strengths more and really honor your values. That's a part of the process that I'm going to kind of take you through my 5 steps. We're getting there. Hold up. All right. So, step number 1. Oh, wait, we're not going to step 1 yet. Got to back up a little bit here. Look, back in the day, I used to work with people with disabilities, and my job was to help people with disabilities find jobs that were a good fit for like the employer and a good fit for the person that had their disability. So we're looking for win-win scenarios. And I would advocate so much. But before I advocated for them, what I would do is I would learn about them. What are their strengths? And that's what I was focused on. What are you good at? What kind of environment would you thrive in based on your strengths, right? Where would it be a we-win scenario for you and the employer? And I would just advocate so much to get that person in a role that they really would enjoy. And it really opened my eyes because it made me think about, like, God, why are people not doing that for themselves, for their own life? And it woke me up because it made me think about, like, hey, Ange, instead of you staying in a job that you're miserable in, spending 8 hours or plus doing things that don't light you up, how about you advocate? Like, you know yourself and you advocate to design the life that you want. I think that's really how I got super passionate about the work that I do now around helping people intentionally design their lives, get a clear vision for what it is they want, and be that kind of person, develop the mindset, the habits, design the environment. I think that's really where that passion really came from. So, all right. So, the first step is for you to evaluate your past. And I used to take my clients through this, like when I'm helping them find the job. I'm looking at their past and seeing, like, well, what worked well in the past and what didn't. So I want you to pick a chunk of time that you're going to evaluate. And it could be like the last, the job time that you're in framing, you know what I'm trying to say. Or it could be like, even for some people, they pick like, I don't know, the course of like a year or whatever. I want you to pick a chunk of time and I want you to ask yourself, like when you were in that role or in that chunk of time, what was it that you really liked about it? What was it that you didn't like? And just evaluate that. What kind of situations did you thrive in? Which ones really aggravated you? So I'll give you an example. I did this for myself and I looked back on the time, let's say I was in a job where I really didn't like the job. And the reason why I didn't like it was because I felt like I didn't have a lot of freedom to like move around. It was like I had my desk. I was almost in like, I don't know, there wasn't any windows. I just felt like I was stuck to the strict schedule. I wanted to teach and train more, but instead what I was doing was trying to manage a program and make sure that all the things were flowing. And I didn't like that. But I had to evaluate and see, like, what didn't I like and what did I like. And then even looking at that job that I didn't like so much, the things I did like was the time that I got to talk to my staff and hear about their goals and their dreams, to talk to the clients that we served, to try to figure out systems that helped them get to their vision and their goals. Do you see how like that gave me clues around what it is that I wanted? So don't hate the contrasts. It's teaching you, like, the contrast, the stuff that you don't like is teaching you about what it is that you do like. But I need you to get clear about that. So write that down. So what didn't you like and what did you like when you're evaluating? Okay, moving on. So wait, I got a quote to share. All right, I like my quotes. So here we go. Evaluation of the past is the first step toward vision for the future. And that's a quote by Chris Widener. So it says, but you know how sometimes people write different people say the quotes? I don't know, but it's a great quote. Let's repeat. Evaluation of the past is the first step toward vision for the future. The first step. I talk a lot about evaluation. A lot of times people don't want to do the evaluation. I was on a rant the other day with my sister about this. Like, they're like, well, yeah, let's write my goals down. And they don't want to spend time evaluating some of the past. And I'm like, no, this is going to help you be more intentional with your life because the past is a gift to you. It's teaching you more about who you are, what situations you thrive in, things that you don't like. So don't be trying to skip that, okay? So let's move on to step 2. We'll start off the quote with step 2. It's not hard to make decisions when you know what your values are. And that's a quote by Guy Kawasaki. It's not hard to make decisions when you know what your values are. Do you know what your values are? A lot of people don't. And I know I've said this in previous podcasts that when I work with people where they said, like, I just don't feel fulfilled in my life. Like, I don't like the work that I'm doing. I don't know what it is I'd rather be doing. That kind of stuff. I would know right away they're living out of alignment with either their strengths or their values, hands down. But when they got awareness around their values, they're like, yeah, wow, I'm definitely not honoring those values. The things that I say are the most important to me not honoring them. Okay, then of course you're going to feel unfulfilled, but what are the things that are most important to you? What are your values? So I recommend that you get clear on what those values are. Your past, if you did that evaluation, is also going to teach you about your values, because I want you to think about it this way. If there's anything that you have felt frustrated about, chances are a value of yours has been challenged. Okay, so let me give you an example of some values. So my top values, one of them is faith. Faith is very important to me. I like to express my faith, not to the point of like I'm gonna be throwing Bibles at you or anything like that, but like it's important to me. You hear me talk about it on the podcast. So making sure in my life that I have time to honor my faith, that is important. So another one is health, taking care of myself. So an example would be in that job that I told you I didn't really like so much because I was so sedentary. And I'm someone that likes to keep moving throughout the day. So that's great wisdom for me because I know going forward that I'm going to advocate in my next role that I get to move around a lot or design it in that way. Or maybe I am in a job that I could move around a lot more, but it would take me to talk to my boss more about it. Or maybe I'd have to advocate for more remote working. Like when you get clear around those things that are important to you, then you can start to do the work and advocate and design. That's what it means to intentionally design your life, is to know yourself and then advocate for yourself. Okay, so some more values of mine. Freedom is a big value of mine. Like the freedom to create and design things the way that I want. It's huge for me. The freedom to travel, and it's why I have the work that I do. Like I've intentionally designed my life to where I do coaching and consulting. I pair them together to bring in consistent income for me. And I advocated for this life. I designed it this way to honor my big value because I knew that if I was stuck in a position where I had to work this set time and I had to sit down all day, I was like, that can't be me. It goes against so many of my values. I'm going to be miserable. But other people might really like that. They might like the structure and the consistency, and that's totally cool. You just got to know yourself and your values. So if you're like, okay, Ange, how do I know my values? It's easy enough to just literally Google values assessment. And there's tons of them out there. You can even just look at a list of words that describe different values. And then you circle like your top 5 or 3, whatever it is, and then ask yourself, rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like this, I'm really honoring this value in my life. Where am I at? And if you're at a 1, if you're at a 5, there's a serious problem. What do you need to do to make sure that you're honoring that value more? Let me give you another example. I remember back in the day when my brother-in-law worked retail, and he had to work on the weekends a lot, and he had a family to take care of. And if you asked him, what are one of your top values? He'd probably say family. A lot of us would probably say that. Like 10, so important to me. And maybe you just simply going to work is honoring that value because it provides food, to your family, right? I get that. But he felt like quality time to him with his family was a huge value for him. But when he's working every weekend, he doesn't have that. So why are you feeling unfulfilled? That's one of the reasons why. So it's like, how can we make sure that in your next role that you're seeking out? Because we want to get clear on what kind of role you want before you start seeking it. Because there's so many people that would mindlessly scroll. They'll like put keywords into like Indeed.com and be like, let me just see what pops up and like, I'll apply there. No, let's spend some time getting clear around what you want your life to look like. And then we'll be strategic about how you go about making that happen. Versus the mindless stuff, right? Because we're being intentional. So anyways, after we got clarity around the kind of life that he wanted, then we realized there was some stories that all of us have around like, how could that be possible for me? Like, this is what I've done this whole time. How could that be possible for me to find a job where I did a 9 to 5? Because all my experience is in retail and managing retail stores, and you pretty much have to work a lot of time on the weekend. Like, we make up these stories, you know what I mean? I've heard them a lot with clients. Okay, so after we kind of targeted that, we got clear, we evaluated the past. What do you like? What you don't like? Then we're getting clear on the values. And then we're starting to think about roles that would honor those values more, or things that we can do and advocate for in our current situation that would allow us to honor our values more and help us feel more fulfilled in those roles. I remember back in the day, I used to, when I used to manage a bunch of social workers, there was one girl who was really frustrated with her job because a lot of times she would get out a little bit later, and it would cause her to spend a lot more money on daycare when she's going to pick up her kids. You know how like you're after that certain time frame. And it just shocked me because she didn't communicate that, like, hey, like it would really be helpful to me if I could get out earlier. Is it there's some way I can come in earlier? Like all of that stuff. I remember she didn't communicate that to a previous manager. But when I ended up coming on staff and being that manager to her, I'm all up in your business about like your life and what can make you enjoy your life more, And when I heard that, I'm like, that you can just come in a little bit earlier and leave a little bit, earlier so that you don't have to spend that extra money. It's like, why are you not advocating for yourself? And so often I've seen too, when applications would come in, people not asking for more income, they just take it as it is. It's like, man, if you would have just asked, we could have been able to give you more. And I remember thinking like that I just wanted people to ask for more because I couldn't advocate for them to get more with the HR department unless they advocated for it. Because they would be like, well, Ange, they already accepted it at the rate. What do you mean we have to pay them more? And I'm just like, well, what the heck? So that's another thing. We can talk about negotiation on a different day, about advocating for yourself. I know that's a whole different thing. But something to think about. We'll plant the seed. Okay. And step 3 is to clarify your strengths or your gifts, whatever you want to call them. Think about like, what is it that you're good at and that you like to do? This is really important. Like I said before, if you're feeling unfulfilled, chances are you're not honoring your strengths or your values. Strengths. Are you using those? Or do you feel like you're living out of alignment with them? And what even are those? A lot of times we have a hard time knowing what it is, like putting into words what our strengths are or what we're really good at or seeing them. Because we think like, oh, it's easy. It comes easy to me. But usually to other people, it doesn't. So, episode 20 is going to talk about that and the Clifton strengths stuff that can really help you put into words what your strengths are, doing that assessment. Wholeheartedly believe in that. Just to give you words. It's going to help you too with stop hitting the mic and talking to myself, guys. I'm a hand talker, so I keep finding myself hitting stuff. Okay. So, another thing that you can do is you can ask people, like, what do you think I'm good at? Ask 3 people. What is it that they think you're good at? And just listen to them. Because chances are that's related to your strengths. So the quote for this step 3 is one of my favorite Bible verses. It comes from the Bible, clearly, but Peter. So 1 Peter 4:10-11. Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. Let's be clear here. Each of you should use whatever gift you have received. That means you have been given a gift and it's meant for you to serve other people. And if you're not using your gift in a way, contributing, giving that gift away in a way that feels good to you, you're going to feel unfulfilled. Hands down. So you got to figure out what the heck that gift even is. And then you got to figure out how you want to use it. And that's what some of the next steps we're going to focus on. All right, let's move on to step 4. Step 4 is to clarify experiences you want to have with your work. Think about the environment, the kind of tribe, the people you want to be around, the community. What are kinds of the things that you want to experience in your everyday of working? So here's the quote. Fill your life with experiences, not things. Have stories to tell, not stuff to show. I'm not sure who that one is from. Fill your life with experiences, not things. Have stories to tell, not stuff to show. Now, at the end of it all, right, when we leave this earth, we don't get to take any of our stuff with us. But our experiences, our memories, the things, the ways that we've showed up and experienced the joy, the things that we've given, the blessings that we've been able to instill upon others, that's made up in our experiences. So when you think about your work, what kinds of experiences do you want to have? And is it about like making certain kinds of difference, like a certain kind of difference in other people's lives? We'll talk about that in the next step. Like, what does that look like? The kinds of experiences. Think of the environment. What do you want it to look like? Do you want to be able to move around a lot? Like, you can go back and think about your values here. in tying that into your experiences. What kind of specific like difference? I feel like I'm dabbling into the next one a lot. But I think about like if someone asked me like what do you want to experience in your work? I would say I would want to experience variety. I want to be teaching. I want to help people believe for more. I want them to think about their own dreams and then think about how in their own gifts and how they can use that in their everyday life. And I'm not attached to the specific role that I have, like the title or maybe like, I don't know, the things, but I'm more attached to how I want to contribute and the gifts that I want to use. So, you know how I always say I'm intentional, but I'm unattached? That's what I mean here. What I do with my work is I help people get clear on the kind of identity, the lifestyle that they want to have in their life, but not clear around like needs to look like this. Because no, you need to let God come in too and blow your mind and let it be better than you've even imagined. And guys, this has happened so much in coaching where I've seen where people we start doing this work and they're like, "Oh my God, Ange, you wouldn't even believe it. Like this person called me, I found this opportunity, this thing happened, and like after we were talking about it, and it's so cool what happens when you start to make your desires known. When you start to be intentional and you start to get in alignment with being that person you want to be. It's a really cool thing. So take some time to think about what experiences, what kind of stories do you want to tell? Do you want to be able to tell stories about people changing their lives in what specific kinds of ways? About how you and your coworkers relate to each other. Funny stories around that, like that kind of stuff. Get some clarity on that. Okay, we're going to move on to step 5. We'll start with a quote from one of my favorite mentors, Kathy Heller, and from Don't Keep Your Day Job. So this quote is, "The opposite of depression isn't happiness, it's purpose." And that really hits me hard. The opposite of depression isn't happiness, it's purpose. Think about anyone who has felt depressed that you might know, or maybe yourself at times that we felt that way. I can tell you, speaking from just myself, the times I've felt depressed in my life is when I've lacked purpose. When I feel like I wasn't a part of something. When I feel like I wasn't, making a difference or contributing in a way that felt good to me. All right, step 5 is to clarify how you want to contribute. How will you use your gifts to meet a certain need? So, this involves you to think about those strengths and those gifts that we talked about earlier. How do you want to give them away? How do you want to use them? Like contribution, purpose. That's what brings us happiness. To know that we're a part of something, that we contributed, you know? Um Again, if someone is depressed, it's because truly they lack purpose and they want to be a part of something. So even if you know someone who is feeling that way, like making sure that they feel a part of something that they can contribute, that's a great way to shift that energy. A quote from the Gospel of Thomas: "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you." And I want you to think about this as your gifts. Like, there's this thing inside all of us where we feel like we're meant for more. And if we do not kind of answer the call, step into our purpose, give that gift that we have away, it's going to destroy us. Because what happens is we live our life with regret. Like we know in our heart we're meant for more, you know? And that's exactly what I don't want for people. I want people to use the gifts that they've been given in a way that feels good to them. And that requires them to intentionally design their life. Because if you don't intentionally design your life, I always say this, what? Someone else does. And even your mental programming, you get programmed from other people. I want you to be the one that's programming your own mind, that's designing the life that you want. Just like I advocated so hard for those people with disabilities to find that job that was best fit for them. We need to treat ourselves like that. Designing our life in a way that's most in alignment with our values, our gifts, the ways we want to contribute. That is our path to happiness. To feel like we're a part of something greater, that we have purpose, and that we were intentional about our life. It don't just happen. That's not how it works. We got to be intentional. We got to study ourselves, do some evaluation. Okay, I'm done preaching. I'm sorry. I hope I got a little preachy there. Forgive me. Let's go over those values real quick. or not values, the steps. All right, step 1, evaluate your past, likes, dislikes. You pick a chunk of time. Step 2 is to clarify your values. Pick your top 5 values. Just find some words. And another thing to note on this, your values can be, just pick a word to describe them. You have your personal definition for them. For example, my definition of family might be different from your definition of family, right? Step 3 is to clarify your strengths. What are you good at and you like to do? Keyword, you like to do. Ask other people if you don't know. Step 4, clarify the experiences you want to have. Think about the kind of environment you want to have, the kind of people you want to be around, the kind of things you want to create and share. Step 5 is to clarify how you want to contribute. How do you want to use those gifts? What kind of problem will you solve? What need will you meet because of the gifts that you have? All right, guys. And then after we take people through these 5 steps, we put all the information into a circle. So picture the circle kind of being like the destination that you put into the GPS. And there's many routes that can take you to that destination. So what I then have my clients do is think about different roles that would allow them to honor those things that are in the circle that we already talked about, or even ways that if they're going to stay in their role, how they can advocate and really honor the strengths, more the values, what they want to contribute, all of that stuff. But if they need to do some research, then they will have to come back to me with some different roles that would kind of highlight and honor those things. So think about it as like destination in the GPS, or like a big circle, like you're drawing one of those suns, how to do the circle first and then you do the rays. So that's all of the stuff in the circle. And the rays are different paths that will lead back to the center, the stuff that we really want. Because it's really about how we want to feel, what we want our life to look like, right? So that's kind of the path that we take. All right, I hope you got a lot out of this episode. If you did, please let me know. Share it with someone who you feel like might need it. Leave a review if you haven't. I'm so grateful that you're here. I hope you have an awesome week. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.